The Anthropic team have released a loop skill for Claude Code to run prompts at set intervals, and people on the internet are going crazy hooking it up to Discord or Telegram to communicate with their agent, just like they would with OpenClaw, and some are even using it for Ralph loops. But they're using it all wrong because the loop skill was not designed for that purpose. I mean, there is a reason they didn't call it schedule and called it loop. Hit subscribe and let's find out why. It's no secret that Claude is being used to write 100% of Claude Code because the team have been shipping features like crazy. But usually the hype level matches the usefulness of the feature. So Claude Remote Control, lots of hype because it's very useful. Async hooks, less hype because they're less useful. But this is the first feature that has more hype around it than the usefulness of the actual feature. Before you get angry, let me explain. So here is the latest version of Claude Code running Sonnet, which I'm going to change to Haiku, since the prompts I'm going to use don't require such a sophisticated model. So here I just have the loop, which takes an interval in minutes, hours, or days. Note the minimum granularity is in minutes, so even though you can write seconds, Claude doesn't support them yet. And then it also takes a prompt, so I'm going to write, say, hello, and if I hit enter, it uses the cron create skill to create a scheduled task. You can also set a specific time, so I could do loop, and here it said hello very quickly. I'll write a prompt of, say, hello again at 6:30 p.m. And here Claude uses the local time for the machine you've installed Claude Code on and not UTC, so keep that in mind. I'll set this to a daily recurring task, and that's pretty much it. The prompt can contain anything you want, so skills, like I could use this tweet skill to write me a tweet along the lines of Claude has an awesome new loop skill, and I'll set that to run every 3 minutes. The prompt can also read a file, run MCP tools, basically anything you can do with Claude Code you can add to your prompt. And I could list the current cron jobs running with this prompt, which uses the cron list tool to list out the jobs, and I could delete a job by saying what the job does or by using the ID. There's also a jitter on the time of cron jobs to prevent multiple jobs at the same time hitting the Anthropic API, which means an hourly job can fire anywhere between 0 and 6 minutes on the hour. Now, yes, this is a really cool feature, and people are saying it has replaced OpenClaw for them because you can set it on an interval to pull messages from WhatsApp or Telegram and respond to them like a real AI assistant, which is what people were using OpenClaw for doing. But there are two major issues with the loop feature that prevent it from being an OpenClaw killer. First of all, the cron tasks auto-expire after 3 days to prevent you from having long-running tasks that you might have forgotten about. This could of course be really annoying if you've hooked the loop up to listen for Telegram messages and go to it on the 4th day to find out it doesn't work. Now, there is a way to run jobs forever inside Claude Code without a plugin, but we'll talk about that later on in the video. The second issue is that cron tasks are stored in session memory and are not written to disk. So if I close this Claude Code session, I'm going to clear my terminal and create a new one. Then if I ask it to list my scheduled tasks, you'll see that nothing has been scheduled, even though I scheduled 2 tasks in the previous session. This means if you wanted to close the session to update Claude, or if you wanted to use the loop feature for a Ralph loop, it isn't really a good idea since you can't properly reset the session and have to rely on compaction to continue long-running tasks. So what should you be using this feature for? Well, whenever you have to rerun a task manually in the same session because something has changed, then you should be using a loop for that. For example, if you're checking the last 50 lines of a continuously updating log file for errors, seeing how many items are left in a job queue, or checking if you have any new issues in your project. Now, I'm sure the team will add more options to loop in the future, like setting a specific model for a task or changing the expiry time. But if you want a task to run forever in Claude Code, you can kind of already technically do that without any plugins. You can do that in Claude for Desktop by opening the sidebar if it isn't already and clicking on Scheduled in the menu. Now, if you don't see this Scheduled option, you may have to update Claude for Desktop. And here we can create a task, giving it a name, description, and prompt. We can even change the model, set permissions, and set frequency down here. This is exactly the same as if we were to write schedule inside the prompt section of Claude Code Desktop. But what's really interesting is that inside Cowork, there is also a scheduled option. Now, this is different from the scheduled option in Claude Code, not only because the modal looks different and we have to click on more options to change the default model, but also because Claude Cowork runs inside a sandboxed environment, whereas Claude Code runs on your local machine. So if you schedule a task in Claude Code, that's going to use your local file system, whereas for Claude Cowork, it's going to do it in a sandboxed environment, which is important so you know where to put your scheduled tasks. Now, the benefit of adding a scheduled task inside Claude Desktop is, of course, the task will run forever as long as the computer is switched on and the Claude Desktop app is opened. But if you're like me and would rather use Claude Code in the terminal to schedule tasks, then you can use this plugin by Kenneth, which does look promising, and I may try it out in the future if there's enough interest. Speaking of other promising things I haven't yet tried out, OpenAI released GPT 5.4 last week and people seem to be excited about it. If you want to know more, check out this video from James, who goes through all the details.